Get all of this on camera.
I will never compliment you again.
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Gameday Extra Podcast. I'm senior Texas A&M sports writer Travis Brown here at KBTX. Over there,
I cannot keep a straight face.
Max Crawford,
that countdown.
chief meteorologist. Max, how you doing, buddy?
I'm fine. No, I'm better than fine. I am great.
You're just grumpy. Over here, Tyler Shaw. How are you doing, Tyler?
Good. I don't get
Not grumpy?
I don't get the title.
Sports director.
Like three weeks in a row on
sports director extraordinaire, Tyler Shaw.
Some would call me Mr. Director.
Mr. Director, Mr. Sports Director, Director Shaw.
Yeah, Mr. Yeah.
Ooh, Director Shaw.
Director Shaw.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
sounds like kind of like
a CIA agent.
Yeah, I was
You're not
thinking,
gonna go
or
to school
like
for that.
you're in command of like superheroes.
Yeah.
Like Nick Fury.
I mean,
Yeah,
or
like Director
or
Shaw,
me
like,
and Aaron
direct-
Patterson. You know.
like we
It's
got to check with.
Director Fury, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got to check with Shaw first. There might be a Shaw
Shaw's actually a pretty
in
good name.
the
for-
Avengers. Not one of the heroes, but like an agent Shaw. I don't know. Anyway,
That sounds kind of familiar.
I don't do Marvel.
I don't really
do-
either.
I really
I've seen
like
a few of them.
Um,
Seen Civil War. I like that one.
I haven't seen.
Have
one of
seen
them.
Infinity War and Endgame. So
Those are the ones you need to see.
Yeah.
After Endgame, it's fine. You don't really need to see any of the others.
yeah.
I have never been more in tuned with our podcast, and as probably you and maybe you too. We submitted for awards for this
Uh-oh.
podcast, and I think I listened to the first 6 minutes of every podcast we
Yeah.
did this year. How annoyed are you with my voice?
No, it was my voice that I was annoyed with. But now we can't use this one if we submit an award for the next year because that's going to seem tacky.
Because we're talking about
Because we're
awards.
talking
Well,
about it.
okay, so
So
this
this
is destined to
this
be
is-
our best
This
podcast.
is no, it's a wash. It's a wash.
Well, but
Yeah.
from this point on,
Yeah.
it's destined to be our best podcast.
Some of our cold opens were quite funny. Some of them I was like, oh man, there wasn't anything funnier that we did then. Which they
No.
don't all have to be funny,
No.
but
We had
you-
some pretty good ones.
Yeah.
I feel you
definitely
come
had
in
some good
here
ones.
ready to produce a cold open.
yeah, I really kind of that's like where I do like my improv material. I get to scratch
a tight 10 seconds.
Yeah, the stand-up comedian.
Did you learn your improv from old Drew?
No, I knew it well before Drew Davis was here.
I don't know
Because
this
that's
story.
what you
I don't
did,
know this
David.
story. Fill us in.
About Drew?
Yeah, I don't know this.
He
I
did
never.
like
I wasn't
improv.
here
You
when
never
Drew.
met Drew, did you?
No, I did. I mean, I knew of him, but I never
former
met him.
meteorology fellow. He's in Honolulu, Hawaii now. He's just taking the islands by storm. No pun intended. He's great guy, and was in the improv troupe on campus. That's really all there is to tell about that.
Yeah.
I
I
will
never
say-
made it out to one of his.
Yeah, we did. Well, he tried. I think he tried to organize a time for everybody to go, and it just didn't work out for everybody. But the funniest thing that he ever did, and then let's actually talk about sports because I never thought we'd be talking about Drew Davis in this podcast. But the funniest thing that he ever did was somebody was new to the station, and he was introducing himself. And you know how our news director says your name, what your position is, and an interesting fact about you. He said, my name is Drew Davis. I'm the meteorology fellow, and I helped start the Cheeseburger Lovers Club at Texas A&M. And people were like, oh, that's really cool. Started asking him questions, and for a while he kind of humored them and answered them, and he was like, and I just made all that up. I was actually in the improv troupe.
That's so The Office.
And
that's like such an Office bit.
yeah, which sign me up for the Cheeseburger Lovers
I know,
Club.
but you've got me
yeah.
Great.
intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the club
So-
I want to be part of.
Yeah.
All right, Drew.
Well-
that's enough about you.
Well, so we actually have some. We're kind of back in the groove.
There's a lot
Back
of sports.
there's a lot of sports
We're
happening.
about to hit cross.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
y'all are like
the
sweating.
time we're about to dread.
We get like what because we're technically still kind of in a crossover season with the transfer portal.
sure.
Yeah.
So we get like what 2 weeks before baseball gears up, and we like 2 weeks of just nice,
and
chill.
We've like already talked to baseball, so it's like already on the horizon.
Right.
It's getting here.
Right.
We should get a golf game or two in before y'all go crazy. You know, Friday's looking pretty good actually.
We should. You're the meteorologist. You tell us when. Because the last
That's
time
what I just said.
Last time
Friday's looking pretty good.
Last time that we tried to do this, you're like, no, rain. So.
Yeah, and you had to do work from like 10 to 4 p.m.
Yeah, you're right. So let's get right into the headlines. The headlines here on kbtx.com. Let's start with football ads. They're up to 18 members of this transfer class. I think headlined by Isaiah Horton, the wide receiver from Alabama. Number 2 wide receiver commit out of this portal class behind one Cam Coleman, who went to Auburn. Went from Auburn to Texas. And it was just pretty much minutes, hours after Cam Coleman announced his decision that Isaiah Horton then followed suit and announced his decision to come to A&M.
Isn't that an interesting state of affairs when the Texas schools are plucking the best receivers from the Alabama schools?
And Cam Coleman is from Alabama. From Phoenix City, if I'm not mistaken, over there. So leaves the state. Tyler, who on this list, and I have 2 pages of it because it didn't fit on one page, who on this list has stood out to you the most?
Well, other than Isaiah Horton, because he to me is the guy a la what could do maybe not as quite as much as Casey Concepcion, but have a similar type impact of that him and Craver did last year. I think just in general what they did in the trenches. They got a lot of experience on the offensive line, bunch of starters in the SEC, and then from there they started getting a lot of defensive linemen too, a lot of edge rushers, because they're going to need to beef that up and have a lot of depth on both sides of the ball. So I think to me that was not one person, but just their emphasis of both in the trenches kind of really stood out to me.
Max, what about you?
This is, I think, a perfect example of just these names that are there that I think like 7 months from now we're going to be like, oh yeah, we talked about how this person was picked up because of this. And so I'm just kind of trying to think of like, okay, which of these guys are going to become Aggie household names and stuff like that. And I mean, obviously I think Horton is at the top of that, maybe Mims as well. And yeah, like what Tyler said, we're addressing the trench issue, and the trench issue being we lost a lot of people.
The trench issue,
trench issue is that we lost a lot of people, several of which are going to get drafted, some graduated and stuff like that. So I think even the Miami game told us this, but especially with an SEC schedule going to 9 games, like. Games are still won and lost in the trenches, and so it seemed like we were addressing that. I think there are still a couple of pretty big trench portal hauls yet to be made. I don't know if A&M's going to enter those sweepstakes because I think they probably like what they have. I kind of trust the talent evaluation of Elko, Miller, and especially Cushing on the offensive line to just kind of find the right guys for the system. So I think the way that I kind of look at this is that they were plugging a couple of holes that really, really needed to be plugged as far as folks that, we were losing due to just natural attrition. And I'm excited about it. I think from an in and out perspective, I think we did just about as good as any school. I don't know that we could have said that last year. So I'm happy to say that this year.
I mean, it was the portal guys that were some of the biggest impact
absolutely.
Guys of especially on offense last season. I'm going to hone in because I think y'all both said it. The trenches is really where they focused. A&M loses 6 offensive line, the entire starting line, 7 entire starting line plus 2 other rotational guys to eligibility and to with Chase Pasantis to declaring early. Wilkin Fromby is an interesting case because he was a starter at Alabama. He's a Tuscaloosa native, grew up in town. When I talked to some people over at Alabama, they kind of had indicated that the fan base was kind of ready to move on from Wilkin. And so a guy with a lot of SEC experience can be interested to see if a new environment maybe is the thing that kind of unlocks him a little bit. But it's
Look
interesting.
at the numbers on him.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's a big.
For those who are listening, 6'7", 324 are his measurables. I mean, that to me, that gets me excited, knowing that he has starting experience, regardless of exactly how it went. If you believe in your coaching and you believe in the strength and conditioning program, that to me, those are exciting numbers.
Yeah.
Can't teach 6'7".
What
Right,
do you,
exactly.
Yeah.
These days,
the one of the things that kind of stands out from our side of the industry is when we're putting together these stories about the kids who transfer in, especially the offensive linemen. It is something to be said when you go to the AP wire and they actually have photos of that offensive lineman. That means they played and they had an impact in games. Or in the case of some of them, maybe the only picture that they had was them lifting the quarterback off the turf, which could be a whole nother story.
that's how an offensive lineman gets on TV, though.
Yeah.
Like that's your biggest moment, unless you get called for a full start or a holding or something like that, and it's like a drive killing play. But
I will say that this issue for us, because I mean, we're there shooting games and getting footage, and we file all these games, and so we have video of all sorts of players, to use when we need to. Offensive linemen are obviously hard to come by.
Yeah.
You never focus
Yeah.
offensive linemen, so
There
there'll
will
be
snaps, footage of
right,
snaps.
so there'll be a game or two out of the season, maybe a UTSA game or something like that I like to bring, if we're not busy, a third camera on the sidelines, and for a few drives, I have them literally just like, hey, whatever, it doesn't matter what happens in this drive, just focus on offensive linemen, just so we have some footage.
yeah, that's a
So
good call.
that's the only way to
That's
do it.
that's why you're Director Shaw.
That's right. That's what Director Shaw.
Well, the other thing I wanted to notice on that list is something that isn't there, and that is running backs.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that would be a position of need with Le'Veon Moss leaving, with E.J. Smith running out of eligibility, Amari Daniels running out of eligibility. In their top, that basically leaves Reuben Owens and Jamarian Morrow as the two with any experience coming into next season. You thought maybe they would add another piece, kind of like an E.J. Smith, kind of one of those guys that could be maybe probably not a starter caliber, but somebody who could be a veteran guy that they could lean on if they needed some experience to pick up a first down or something like that. But that hasn't happened as of yet. The portal, of course, is still open till Friday. We're recording this on Wednesday. But any surprise that they didn't, or any other position groups that you think that, at least as of this point, you would have thought they would have hit harder?
Well, yeah, running back is the first one, which they might still do that, or they might feel really good about some of the freshmen they have coming in to add to that depth. Another one's tight end. The transfer I'm most excited to see is Houston Thomas. I think it's always cool when a hometown kid gets a chance to play for A&M, and I think he'll have a chance to really contribute next year, having the experience he does already playing in college, and then having Theo and Nate Borkacher leaving. They need tight end, so they brought in Houston Thomas. I think they probably, I would think, would want more tight end depth. Other than running back, that's kind of what I look at.
And just to piggyback off of what the conversation, A&M does have their second best recruit of this class is KJ Edwards out of Carthage, who's a running back coming in. So and
looks really the part.
They under Elko, under Colin Klein, they used a lot of running backs, a whole stable, as it were, this past season, and I don't see that necessarily changing under Holloman Wiggins.
I think at a certain point into the season last season, especially after we had lost Le'Veon, and all of a sudden we saw this production from E.J. Smith, from Amari Daniels, from Reuben Owens, from Jamarian Morrow, I think almost most especially just because that was the one that kind of came out of nowhere. This is a situation where I say, well, I trusted Trooper Taylor then. Why would I not now? And yes, there's some unproven things right there. This is maybe where a situation where we'll miss a guy like Amari Daniels next year if we do have some injuries, because we always knew that, if Le'Veon went down or if Reuben went down or even if EJ went down, like, we've got Amari Daniels. And so we don't have that, like,
safety blanket.
Exactly. It seems like we really don't. So I think that they're kind of counting on Ruben Owens to take that next step, Jamari and Morrow to get a bigger share of carries. And yeah, I think they really like what they have in, maybe Ryden, and I think especially KJ Edwards to come in and contribute. Maybe KJ Edwards kind of steps into that role that Jamari and Morrow filled, like kind of in the later quarters, all of a sudden just being like a nice little pass catching or switch up one cut, get you a nice 11 to 15 yard rush type of guy. So that's. But that all being said, I think I would have liked to see like a graduate transfer or something like that, just to kind of throw some additional experience in the running back room. But I think if we end up, the portal closes and we don't get an additional running back, I don't think that's going to scare me.
The thing about the stable they had last year, too, is that they had guys that had different skill sets. They had Ruben Owens, Amari were a little more breakaway guys. Le'Veon, EJ especially was kind of used as a little bit more of the power guy, the kind of closer at the end of the game. I don't see the same kind of power back as Le'Veon, as EJ in this group, but there is a whole spring and off season that guys can bulk up, get into the Moffitt method, and kind of turn into that. But I see a lot of two elusive guys in Morrow and Ruben Owens that a little bit more shaky than power.
Yeah, that TJ, I think his name is TJ Smith. That pickup of that linebacker was maybe a little puzzling to some people. His younger brother, I believe, is committed, a pretty highly regarded commit to A&M, so that might have something to do with it. But I almost expected something similar, except from running back, like maybe go and grab a Tarleton or a SA or UTEP like running back who's a graduate transfer and still like trying to use up some eligibility, who's got that kind of power frame, and pick that up, which again, maybe that'll still happen. But overall, I think a lot of people maybe are still looking back and going, man, I wish we could have got Cam Coleman. But I don't think he's a make or break to this offense specifically. And I do like that we ended up getting the what some would rate as the second best receiver in the portal, because I do think that was something that we needed to address with losing KC. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of,
and you look at how many players Texas had to shed
to
fit into the cap space, because salary cap is something that you have to consider in college sports now.
Some real contributors and some dudes who I think anyway wanted to be there. And I'm not going to be able to say anything else beyond that without sounding extremely biased, so I won't. But I do think that there was a pretty good balance between keeping people and bringing people in, that I think Elko is maybe, we can rehash this in about 8 or 9 months, but Elko seems to be a little bit of a wizard at this, like the recruiting and the portal angle. Like I think he low-key kind of loves it. Mm-hmm. Like from a roster management perspective, it seems like not only does he kind of like it, but I think he's really good at it. And I think this is also, he said in one of his weekly pressers towards the end of the fall, around this time next year is when we're going to know and have like the guys that we truly want. And so you look at the last couple recruiting classes, and this is where you kind of put faith in the development of the program, like your Keati Armstrongs, your Landon Rinks, your Damian Samfords, even like some of the people who have been here for a couple seasons now. And then you think, okay, we supplement that with KJ Edwards, Brandon Arrington, like all these people who just signed, like these high 4-star and even 5-star guys. That's where I think you kind of trust in Elko to have the ability to fill those contributor gaps. Is this camera like in a weird blurry mode, or is it just me?
It is.
We'll see what that looks like in post.
Seems like it's lagging.
Yeah, it's like when you played Mortal Kombat and you hit enough combos, and it was like,
that's not. Yeah, what?
Anyway, sorry, that's my ADHD. But yeah, that's my rant. Is like there's a little bit of faith that you have to have in the coaching staff with who we took and who we got and who we didn't get in the portal versus who we still have on campus and who we're counting on next year to be contributors who weren't necessarily huge contributors this past season. So this is where I think you really see what Elko's capable of from a roster management and development standpoint.
We mentioned that it's almost crossover season, which means we go right from football to basketball and baseball.
And
is
football never
starting.
ends, really.
Football does never end. I'm already thinking of the next 3 podcast episode topics that we can do to talk about football-related stuff when it's absolutely off-season. The biggest thing is baseball starts. The practice started on Monday for the spring practice to head into the season. That season starts here at the beginning of February. It's not far away, but A&M had an interesting little tidbit of news, and that was that hitting coach Caleb Longley decided to leave the program. According to reporting by Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball, it had to do with his side business, Marv Training, where he makes training apparatuses for baseball players, like kind of rubber machine balls and things like that, bands. That the university and him had a disagreement about, I guess, how much time he was spending on both of those things, and he decided to step away and put his full focus into Marv Training, his company. Let's real quick hear from A&M head coach Michael Early, just kind of on what he had to say about that departure and kind of what it means for the program moving forward. This was from Monday, head coach Michael Early.
Yeah, he just made a decision to fully focus on his business, and we wish him nothing but the best. He worked his tail off here and was awesome, and I'll still continue to be, close with him. He's a good dude. Other than that, we'll elevate. As of right now, the plan is to elevate Troy Clonch. I'm still evaluating that, but it's going to have to happen quick, and that's probably the direction we're going to move. We're just this is pretty fresh, and I think it kind of allows us to transition into baseball seamlessly, and Troy does a really good job.
So it was an interesting move right before the season, weeks before the season. Troy Clonch is going to potentially take over there, and doesn't seem like he's wanting to inject a new coach into this thing so close to the season. Surprising at all. And then, too, we got to talk to him a little bit about just the outlook for the season as they get geared up for camp. Tyler, what stood out to you about that conversation we had with Michael Early?
Well, the timing, first of all, is just that's the puzzling thing of, this is kind of wild for, the coaching change to happen so close to the start of the season. But, other than that, they it seems like they and the team just kind of has this attitude, we got nothing to lose. We had last year was what it was, very, very disappointing after being ranked number 1 and just completely falling off, barely finishing above 500. So they really, maybe you don't have as many high expectations again, but D1 Baseball has them ranked 25th to start the season,
right? Which we kind of little bit of a head scratcher. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what warrants that start, because again, there's going to be a lot of unprovens on this team. We're going to see what pitching is like. We know Shane Sadeo is probably going to be that number 1 guy. Weston Moss is probably your number 2. Beyond that, there's still there's going to be a lot of questions in that bullpen and who's starting. You get Gavin Grahovac back, which is a added boost to your offense. But my big thing is just there's a lot of question marks right now, and I think they know that, but they, I don't know, they seem to have kind of the right attitude about it, and just kind of that loose what you need as a baseball player of just kind of let it out. Don't get too tight, too tense about things.
Max, what are you excited for the baseball season?
Well, baseball in general, honestly. I love Aggie baseball, especially with the kid who has taken a lot of interest in that. Like, just the environment of Olsen is so cool. And we talked about this earlier in the week. From a weather perspective, you get the whole gamut from like freezing and maybe even freezing rain.
That's not a plus. That's a minus.
I think it's awesome because you could be talking about a game being canceled because of ice one time because it's too slick out there, or snow even, and then before the end of the season you could be talking 100-degree heat like we saw the last time we hosted a super. So I think that's so cool. Like, baseball season is just so diverse in that way. But I do think that's the way you have to look at it, like you said, Tyler, is just play ball. Like, there's the expectations, I think, are very high for Early and what he needs to deliver in order to keep his job. But if that is your motivation the whole time, you've already lost the season. So yeah, playing loose and just trying to have fun. I do think that the hitting could be could be just as good this year with Grahovac hopefully being healthy coming back. You hope, though, and again, this is almost exactly what I said about football, is you hope that you continue to see development from your Benderups, your Bear Harrison, Hakopian coming in from the portal, hopefully pretty good. Terrence Keel, who at least to start the season last season was really, really good at getting on base and kind of came up short in a couple of bigger moments towards the end of last season. So you hope that from those angles that there's continued improvement there, a little bit of added maturity, especially from like your guys like Benderup, Harrison, Terrence Keel, who had to step up a lot as underclassmen. But yeah, I'm just excited.
I'm always so impressed with your ability to just remember everything that happened. I was just like, oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, because I'm so like one track on whatever season it is. So yeah, very impressive that you can remember all of that.
Of Aggie.
I was gonna say, I don't know that that's a good thing, but I appreciate the tone of that, which sounded complimentary.
Yes. Now the other thing to note too is Michael Early mentioned in the fall that he took back over kind of some of his old hitting roles already before this Longley news came out. He's kind of more day-to-day in the cage than he was his first season.
Kind of like a Mike Elko move.
Yeah.
The way that the defense was not what it should have been the first year. And so he said, I'm going to take over the play calling and more of that duty. So that's what my first thought of Early kind of getting back to his roots of doing that.
And Grahovac said, I mean, it's kind of more getting into like the mechanics of things, a little bit more hands-on in the cage, which is how he got into coaching. That was his whole entryway.
They had a lot of success with him as
right,
hitting coach.
Right, that 2 College World Series trips with him as the hitting coach. So it'll be interesting to see how that, and we'll have plenty more of that as it kind of gears up. I want to take a brief moment to mention Logan Lednicki and Afina Apala, who began their pro careers down there in Houston. Of course, Lednicki playing for League One Volleyball Houston. Apala is in League One Salt Lake City, and Lednicki got some action in when in that first game down in Houston when the two played each other down there at the beautiful Barry Center. Oh my gosh, that place could be a college facility.
Is that your first time at the Barry Center?
First time at the Barry Center.
Oh yeah.
That place is wild.
No, it's a great venue. A lot of these, so this is where Cypress gets to play, which. I mean, kind of jealous from, the facility. I thought I had nice facilities in high school, but, a lot of these greater Houston areas have these great this one's similar to the Merrill Center in Katy, if you've been to that one. But, that one probably takes the cake.
Yeah. Center. This is but Logan, on her she checks in late in the first set and gets a block. We saw just there a second ago on her basically her very first play in professional volleyball. Afina didn't get to play in this game, but she has since gotten to play a little bit in this season. It's a cool environment. There was a lot of little girls volleyball club teams there, as you can kind of see there in the background of this shot if you're watching. One of the clubs that Logan played for in Houston, Skyline, was there. So it's kind of full circle moment for her, and just a lot of pretty cool environment.
And this is, at least for now anyway, I think through the whole season, available to watch for free on streaming on Victory Plus.
Yes.
Yeah. Some of them are on ESPN Plus too.
Yeah. So that's cool. I said this many weeks ago when A&M was going on this tournament run, especially with the games that were featured on network television, and how they I'm trying to find the word here. It was just a good story. Just good games, I think, made a lot of volleyball fans over the past several months. Just the way that this team has performed, and a lot of the really, really cool matchups that kind of came down to the wire, just really, really good competition to be seen, on in a network thing. We saw that 1 or 2 of those games were among the most watched ever. So yeah, that's really, really cool. I think you also hit the nail on the head. It's awesome for girls going up in the club volleyball scene to go and actually watch professional volleyball and kind of see how it's done and stuff like that. So that's exciting.
We'll just touch on this quickly. It's a big weekend. It's a Lone Star Showdown weekend for both A&M men's and women's basketball. Men head out to Austin on Saturday. Women are out there on Sunday. Tyler, what have you seen so far from the? We'll get it. The men's team is going to be our main conversation here. What have you seen from the women's team so far?
This is going to be a big tipping point, I think, in A&M's season on the women's side. They have been very up and down, but their downs have been very, very low so far. So when you look at this on paper, it's not very evenly matched. A&M has more talent this year than they've had in years past. So sure, they are capable, and they've had some good wins. But man, some of that, when they get, like the game at Georgia, when they went an entire half of the third quarter, a fourth quarter, and overtime without scoring a bucket. I mean, just stretches like that. That's just just hitting the lows of the low. You can't have that, if you're going to have any success, obviously. So, and Texas is probably a good team to exploit that. So, they're up against it this Sunday. But I mean, not saying it's impossible, because Joni's team has also shown that they do have the talent, and their defense especially. Even throughout these stretches of them not being as good as maybe they should be, their defense has typically shown up.
Over 40 years ago, my parents started C&J Barbecue, and today we continue to honor Dad's legacy with the best barbecue in the Brazos Valley. With locations on Harvey Road, Southwest Parkway, and our newest location on William Joe Bryan, we carry on our family tradition of serving up award-winning barbecue, sides, and desserts. We also offer delivery, catering, as well as custom menus and private chef services. Come visit us today for some of the best barbecue around. C&J Barbecue. The C is for Chip, the J is for Joe, and the barbecue is for you.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get into the main conversation of things. Then we're going to catch up a little bit on where the men's basketball team is at this point in the season. Of course, last night they go out to Tennessee and lose in double overtime. Now A&M 2-5 in double overtime appearances since being in the SEC. But it's the first year of Bucky Ball, and so there's been they started 3-0 in SEC play, and it seemed like Bucky Ball was going to be a problem in the SEC for opponents. But a little bit of the dichotomy of that yesterday, where every game has come down to the wire, whether it be because of the talent they're facing or sometimes some issues that arise to the A&M team to let teams back into games. The first three games, they held teams off. Last night, they didn't, and it kind of came back to bite them. Tyler, how much do you think Bucky Ball has been the reason for the success so far when they started 3-0 and were at the top of the SEC table?
Well, first off, I will say I like the early E in Bucky there. I commended your spelling on Michael earlier.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Well, we get an early Bucky.
This was the one
hybrid.
I typed in right before we hit record.
No,
so yeah,
we've all been there. There we go. So yeah, the 3-0 start. A lot of it has to do with their style of play and Bucky Ball, and I do think it is going to be effective. However, a lot of that is the competition that they play. I think the SEC overall is not as good as it was last year. I mean, last year was kind of historic, but I don't think it's as deep top to bottom, which could help A&M, but could also hurt them if down the stretch they're a bubble team and you need a good resume. And if your conference isn't that good, then you're probably going to be on the outside looking in. Tennessee's one of those teams that was kind of maybe their first. You could argue Auburn might have been their first big road test, but we're about to find out how good Auburn is. I've heard that they are obviously a shell of what they are. Bruce Pearl's not there anymore. Oklahoma, I don't think is that great. So it's a good thing they handle business there. And then, Tennessee was a clash of styles. So you got Bucky Ball going up against a taller, bigger Tennessee team that likes to slow things down. They have the top defense in the SEC if you're going just by numbers as far as scoring. Bucky Ball held its own and pushed its style for the start of this game, but the way this ended, in the end, kind of Tennessee's style gave way. And we were talking about this earlier. In overtime, I don't know how effective Bucky Ball will be when you're looking at a 5 minutes. It's a 5-minute game at that point. Bucky Ball relies on runs. They go on 11, 15, 16-0 runs, but then they allow 11-0 runs at the same time. You don't have time in 5 minutes for those kind of swings. You don't have – they were in foul trouble, so they didn't full court press as much in the end of that game, and that's kind of their calling card of forcing turnovers. They didn't do that as much against Tennessee. So when you're limited there, it's going to be hard to win those kind of games that slow down.
Yeah, I think it's a you kind of hit the nail right there on the head with Bucky Ball is a process that has to evolve. You have to be able to withstand the ups and the downs to have more positive runs than the other team, because there is going to be empty possessions because of the speed that they play at, the turnovers. But as long as they are dictating play, which is what they did for 30 minutes of that game, things are going to be going in their favor. The problem when you get to overtime is that the game grinds to a halt, and each possession is so important to get something out of it, because you're only going to have maybe 10 or 15 possessions in an overtime period that you can't necessarily play Bucky Ball. And I didn't, this is, we don't get to go into the practice or see their playbook. So it's hard to, exactly point and say this is true, but it really didn't look, I only saw one real true half court set on offense. It seemed a lot of get the ball down the court, try to look for a quick open shot. Okay, it's not there. Maybe set a high pick and roll, but that didn't necessarily work a whole lot. Maybe try to kind of run a motion offense to kick out to the guys, but they were playing really tight, good defense because it's overtime. They did get that one open shot to Ruben Dominguez late, and he didn't hit it, and that's kind of what you're looking for in those situations. But as exacting as Bucky Ball has looked through the open course of play in the different kinds of presses, the way that they can switch between different presses and different traps and keep teams on their toes, switching between a man to zone defense. It didn't look nearly as precise when they got to the overtime period. And so if these games are going to be coming down to the line, they need to take care of business in open play and regulation so they don't get into those situations. Max, what have you seen so far from Bucky Ball?
That is exciting. I mean, y'all, full disclosure, went beyond my ball knowledge maybe a sentence or two into this conversation. So everything I'm about to say, just approach it from that filter, that lens. To me, because I think the original question you asked also was, how much of this is Bucky Ball being successful? I said this to a couple of different group chats last night. I think Bucky Ball has been about as successful as you could hope for to this point. I'm not going to argue too much about the regulation versus overtime and foul trouble and stuff like that, because I think some buzz teams, you worried about going into overtime as well because of foul trouble with the very hard-nosed defense and stuff like that. So I think any scheme has its own deficiencies there. What I'm wondering, and what I'm choosing to believe here with my maroon shaded glasses, is that maybe last night was more the result of an away team that was gassed, that is still trying to figure out each other as a team, than it was a failure of Bucky Ball per se. And again, like I said earlier, that's based on just knowing that we just put this thing together a few months ago. And so I think a more talented, no disrespect, but like a more talented, more experienced, especially more cohesive unit of Bucky Ball, I think could have closed that out a little bit better. But it was a game that came down to the wire in regulation, and I think especially that out of bounds play that was reviewed, and there was some controversy with that. Like, to me, that's not a moral victory so much as it is just like, that's just the way that it happens sometimes in conference play, is that sometimes you are at an away game and you don't get it done in regulation, so you're going to give the edge to the home team. That's just where I sit on that. So Yeah, I think it is such an exciting style of play. I love kind of listening to Bucky and his pressers because it gives me a window to basketball that I don't know that I previously ever really thought about. Just the way that he kind of talks about things. He's a breath of fresh air. I think he's super exciting. I love the momentum swings and stuff like that. Provided momentum is generated, right? And we kind of saw that in Reed Arena against Oklahoma, where we would go on these little cold and dry spells. And I think the announcers kind of called that perfectly with whoever it was in Rodney Terry. Like they understood the atmosphere in Reed Arena, and so I think the Reed Rowdies almost need to understand that there are going to be scoring droughts and things like that, and that's where the crowd really needs to bring the energy there. But there are opportunities for the players to kind of create those additional momentum swings. And it's just it's frustrating, but it's a different kind of frustrating than with previous regimes. And to me, it's like a great experiment, and you can't help but root for the coach, for all the players and stuff like that. Like Rashawn Agee is my flippin' hero all of a sudden, and I almost said Rylan Kennedy, Rylan Griffin, all of a sudden just a sniper out there along with Dominguez. Like, I don't know, like you're seeing the building blocks here of what I think is going to be a really, really cool story, regardless of how the rest of the season goes. So that's how I'm approaching it here.
I think the most impressive thing, we were watching some of the highlights from that Oklahoma game, that it really stood out in that game is a lot of what you think when you think Bucky Ball and up-tempo defense is that they're going to force a lot of turnovers, and turnovers are going to lead to offense, and that's kind of the whole aspect of it. But really what we saw in that Oklahoma game was them just absolutely wearing the Sooners down to where at the end of the game, they were on a scoring drought because even as Porter Moser said, they were missing shots short, and when you miss shot short, it's because your legs aren't under you. And I think that's not going to be the case. It didn't seem to be the case against Tennessee. Tennessee certainly had their legs. Yeah.
Higher tier talent, probably conditioning. The paint points have also been, to me anyway, a little bit of a surprise, like over the past several games. I'd have to look and see what the statistics were against Tennessee, but against OU and LSU, the percentage of points that like kind of came from, not the big man game, but like from those layups to me was encouraging and like kind of a pleasant surprise.
Well, and that's how they're going to win games, is by wearing teams like Oklahoma down. It's not going to happen every night. It didn't happen against Tennessee. We'll see how it affects Texas on Saturday. But that is Bucky Ball being at its most effective.
I think also from a scheduling perspective, I mean, we've got as favorable of a scheduling setup, non-conference notwithstanding, because that's about as favorable as you can get. But
except for resume wise, but
right, exactly. I just mean as far as getting wins. We're kind of easing ourselves into this SEC schedule, right? Like you've got your LSUs and your OUs, which are clearly mid to bottom tier of the conference, at least as far as things are shaking out right now. But then you get a good test at Auburn, like a really tough place to play, and you get a win there. You get another test against Tennessee. You take them down to the wire. You go all the way to double overtime. And now you go to Austin to a Texas team that has kind of been struggling lately, and so this is your opportunity to go 3-1 in conference at this point. And you get kind of not midway through the conference schedule, but you get into the meat of the conference schedule, and that's where you kind of really find out who you are. But at the very least, you've been tested a little bit by that point.
Well, that's a good point, because from what I've seen throughout this season, they've progressed exponentially defensively from where they started at the very beginning of the season to now.
Especially in the half court.
Yeah, exactly. And they have yet to play their toughest SEC games. So maybe that's a good thing. The fact that they are, regardless of opponent, they have gotten better with as a team and especially defensively. So if you continue that trend and continue to get better, then you're going to have a shot against the better SEC teams.
I think to me that's the take-home point as a casual basketball observer, sitting next to two guys who know ball a lot better than I do, is Bucky Ball to this point looks like in any game will have a shot. And to me, in his first season, that's all I really wanted, I think, is
each of these games, it looks like we've got a chance, right?
I want to talk about the guy we just saw appear on the screen. That is Ruben Dominguez. Have you seen a guy with a quicker release than him, especially from like the logo? The dude can. We knew the dude can shoot.
Not at Texas A&M, no.
But the dude can flat out shoot.
Yeah, not at Texas A&M. He looks like an NBA ready guy with how he shoots, because he does have the release of a catch and shoot NBA guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you want, and you haven't seen that at A&M. You haven't had a sniper, 3-point sniper go into the league recently, and that's what he is. Now, does he have the other intangibles and defense to make it at that level? We'll see. But as far as the catch and shoot and his release, I mean, that's kind of picture perfect. That's exactly what you want to see. And
we talked to Bucky a little bit about the fact that so much of what has kind of made this team successful is the fact that they have Rashawn Agee down low, who's doing what he's been able to do in the paint, and Ruben Dominguez out on the outside making shots just like that one. And you play that inside-out game. Teams either have to choose to double Rashawn down low or usually pull off that back corner or defend that back corner shot. And they beat Oklahoma at the end of the game on a pair of back-to-back plays where one of them was a dish-out pass to Ruben that he hit the shot that ultimately was the game winner, and then they chose to have to go out to defend him, and it opened up a one-on-one opportunity for Agee down low.
Yeah, I mean that's where they're going to be at their best too. Is the 2-man game between Agee and Dominguez? The end of that Oklahoma game, just really. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Just really highlighted that, of just what those two are. Here's 2-man game.
Agee backing him down because he had to go.
It was so beautiful.
He had to go one-on-one in that one because they had to respect Ruben's ability to shoot outside because they just knocked down a three a play or two earlier.
Yeah, that was the Dominguez three was when Agee found him cross court. Yeah,
right there.
Agee
what
really,
a pass too! Look at that.
Yeah. Like, he really kind of took the game over.
And the release, the catch and shoot. I mean, it was on the dime. The pass needed – that's the other impressive thing. To be able to catch and shoot and fire like that, the pass needs to be right on target.
And for those of you listening, it was – and you didn't watch the game, they got the ball to Agee on basically the far side wing, and he's able to whip the ball across on a hammer throw to right through a strike right to Dominguez, and he was able to catch and shoot right in his rhythm and hit that three. That ended up being the game winning shot, the game winning points of that game. So do we think we'll kind of close it out with this? Do we think it's sustainable? Do you think teams will be better conditioned to face this as the season goes on? Do you think they'll get a book on how to necessarily break that press to beat him, or do you think this is such a unique? It's the triple option of basketball, maybe. Really, it's the air raid of basketball. But like when Mike Leach and Hal Mummy first brought the air raid into college football, is this something that it's not something you can get a book on within a season and learn? I don't know. How do you feel? Do you feel like they're going to continue to have the same level of success? Because I'll be honest, we've talked about this. Going into conference play, I did not think they would have this level of success this quickly. There's nothing that happened in non-conference play against any of the power conference teams that made me think that this was a team that was cohesive enough to have the success they did. But they hit conference play running, and quite literally, and have been really successful. Is this sustainable, do you think?
I think as long as they continue on the upward trajectory of their defense, then yes, I think it is sustainable. I kind of had some of the same questions, especially with the up-tempo offense and the mindset of a bunch of threes and layups. That's nothing unique. That is kind of where the game is headed anyways. You just look at the NBA. That is what players are conditioned to play as. It's the playing 90 feet full court that's unique, and the constant full court pressure that you don't see all the time. Will teams be able to break the press a little easier? Maybe. That's we'll see once we kind of start hitting those midway point and you start seeing another opponent for a second time. I'd be curious to see kind of how teams adapt. But I don't see why it's not sustainable, what they've proven so far.
Max, I think you're right. I think things will probably get a little bit more difficult as the season goes on. I think it'll. We were talking about what is Oklahoma, what is Auburn. I don't think Auburn is going to be quite the team that we probably thought they were going to be early on. So that it's going to look maybe a little bit like A&M's football season, where they've had some good wins, maybe not the level of competition. I think Tennessee was a good example, but Tennessee was also a good example of the fact that it worked. I mean, they were there at the end of the game with plenty of opportunities to put it away, and they just didn't do it. Max, I'll close it out with you on this. When we've been in Reed-Arena on some of these games, the crowds haven't been necessarily great, and we know basketball and how it works here in Aggie Land. But when do you think, or do you think it's already happened? When do you think this is going to fully catch on?
I think it's actively happening. I think that you also have to take into account, they haven't played a game on campus where the semester has been in session yet. Yes, we're into conference play, but the students are all back now, and I especially think if we keep things rolling, get a win against Texas, that next home game is going to be that much more rowdy, which I believe, unless we have a weekday game, I think would be South Carolina that next Saturday.
They do have a lot of home games Saturdays, which
so it's the perfect opportunity for that. I think the fan base will continue to grow as those. I mean, the games have been fun, and so that's all you can really ask for to this point, I think. But yeah, I think the Reed environment is going to continue to get better. I think the attendance is going to continue to get better, the atmosphere, et cetera, and so forth. I do think that we're probably still in for a couple of ugly losses. Like when you look at Alabama and Florida, that kind of scares me a little bit. But I would bet out of one of those,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would bet out of
Texas.
Yeah, like I said, one of those we probably win. One of them might be kind of a miserable, we need to forget that we even played that game and move on type of game. I think in for a couple of those where it's just not Bucky Ball's night. But yeah, I don't see any reason why it couldn't continue to be successful, provided everybody, our key players, stay healthy. Because I think that, yes, we have a lot of people in rotation, but it seems kind of fragile from a everybody's got to stay healthy and conditioned standpoint, because if you lose Dominguez or you lose Aggie,
you don't want that.
Yeah,
things just fall apart pretty quickly, right? So, yeah.
Does this Texas game follow the same pattern as these other ones, and it goes right down to the wire? What were we feeling about this trip to Austin?
I think so. That's just my gut reaction, especially because it is Texas at Texas. I mean, we remember how the last game went in Austin, down to the wire, even though it shouldn't have been.
There's something in me that is saying this is going to be the game that A&M, I could see this being a year where the Lone Star Showdown goes reverse and the away teams win. I think this could be a game where these guys it's going to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, Auburn was a really hostile environment. I think this could be one of those ones where they just wear Texas down and are just kind of relentless and make it not – I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but not going to be a game that's coming down to timeouts and fouls at the end of the game. I could really see that, and then see it being the other way around, or, a close game that Texas wins in Reed. For some reason, that's just the vibe. It's not anything – educated, it's more of a vibe. My educated head says it's going to be a close one and come down to the wire.
Speaking of vibes, the narrative around, and this is just going to add to that, this head-to-head matchup, but the narrative around these two programs and the first-year head coaches has been very, very interesting thus far, because I think one program you'd almost expect the records to be flip-flopped, just the way that things have gone for either team. But it reminds me of the John Daly Tiger Woods meme, where Bucky Ball is John Daly, and I forget the head coach at Texas. His name is Tiger Woods here. We're just kind of on
just wheels off, but making it work.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it'll be fun. I think it will come down to the last couple minutes. That's the way basketball is sometimes. Is those last 2 minutes of game time last 45 minutes, but that's why some people love it. That's not why I love it.
It was a 3-hour game last
I
night.
don't love that.
I love it because it's a sport.
Yeah,
but
let's
they're-
keep
yeah.
the Texas game to as close to 2 hours as
Yeah,
possible. That's
yeah.
my
We need to have a good
wish.
dinner in Austin before things
Yeah.
shut down. Let's go around the SEC real quick, and it's a little bit more national. This conversation we're about to have, but it is one that kind of piqued my interest, and some website here, I don't know, some study was looking at the 4 U.S. cities that were voted amongst the most inauthentic in the world. That means if you go there, it's gonna feel pretty touristy. It's not gonna feel like you're just one of the people living in there. And surprising, well, the SEC connection is number 4 is Nashville, which kind of gave me a head scratcher. But the 4 American cities on here: Chicago, Las Vegas, Nashville, and Boston. There wasn't much explanation about how they got to this, so we basically just fell into their trap.
Yeah, we fell for the rage bait here because I am in a fit of rage.
But
right
I love Chicago. I love Las Vegas. And Las Vegas, like,
Yes, it's very
it
touristy.
is a tourist. Like,
That's
you're-
what it's
yeah,
supposed
you
to
go
be.
to Las
That-
Vegas for those things.
It's its purpose.
Nashville has plenty. I mean, yes, there's Broadway, but there's plenty of really cool, unique Nashville things
that are
Nashville.
in the heart of what people would call the tourist trap parts of,
Yeah.
of
Right.
Nashville.
Nashville's got a great mix of
Yeah.
it's Vegas-esque, where it does have Broadway and it's catering to tourists, but like, it's just a cool city with history.
Maybe
That-
I'm easy to please, but
Yeah.
Chicago and Nashville both, I absolutely love both of those cities, and most of the time that I spent in those places were in the spots that tourists are told to go. Why are they getting punished because it's a good place for tourists to go?
Yeah, isn't that because it's
You don't
a
like
good-
That's
taking,
what
you don't
they
like taking
right.
the river tour on the upper
like
loop and
like
or
I
the
think
north
what
loop in
when I think
Chicago?
of what they're trying to say is, like, if you went to San Antonio and what you did was went to the Madame Tussauds across the street from the Alamo.
that San Antonio should be on that list.
Oh, but like there
And
is.
I love San Antonio, but
It
let's
also
talk about it.
depends on like the place. I love San Antonio, and if you go to San Antonio and go on like a mission tour,
Austin should be on that list too.
okay, Austin.
Austin should absolutely be on that list. Today's Austin, not 10 years ago Austin, not 20 years ago Austin. Today's
Okay.
Austin is absolutely a tourist trap. And you're going to be trapped in traffic the whole time you're there.
That's fair. I was, but that was going to be my point. Is what are some inauthentic cities? I don't know. Maybe I put Austin there.
I think Austin has got to be at the top of my list. And
Like-
again, I love Austin, but the reason I love Austin is because I know people who have lived in Austin for a long time and know how to bypass all of the stupid stuff.
I feel like inauthentic.
How did Orlando not? If we're talking
Yeah.
about-
See, that's a great one. Orlando.
That's literally a city that was built upon.
Yes.
yeah, that's what it offers. Is
Right.
Is yeah.
A lot of Florida city. Like when I think inauthentic, it's like you're going to places, restaurants, things that you could go to that place, or you could go to any other place around the country.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas
Yeah.
could be up there.
Yeah, you're probably not
Yeah.
wrong.
On the other end of the token, Fort
I mean,
Worth
Dallas
is
shopping.
Fort
and
Worth-
Worth is much
restaurants.
more authentic, is
Yes.
what I'm saying, than Dallas
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
That's
Dallas
fair.
is like the
I was
Cheesecake
since
Factory
we
of
since we
cities.
just agreed
Cheesecake Factory.
since we just all agreed to
We're all
that as
from-
people from Dallas. I'm
Right.
gonna throw Houston. I'm gonna throw Houston in there too
Yeah, I was about to-
because it's basically the same.
You were gonna tick off some Houstonians with that.
We already
I
don't
necessarily
just said
disagree.
Dallas. So
I think the food and drink scene in Houston is much better than in Dallas. When you talk about
Huh.
all of DFW, I think it's about the same. But if you're just talking Houston versus Dallas, I think Houston's is better.
Yeah, there's
And-
been
and this is
more
coming from
northern
somebody-
flight in Dallas than there has in Houston to the suburbs. For
This is coming from somebody who takes every opportunity to talk trash on Houston. But that's just where I sit. But I mean, like Cypress is like a cookie cutter suburb, but so is Plano. So anyway,
underrated
This is-
authentic cities. Just to move things along, for me, Oklahoma City,
okay,
pretty.
yeah, especially now.
Yeah, now.
Yeah.
El Paso,
Okay,
very very cool, very very cool vibes. What was the other one? Omaha. I think Omaha has a really cool character. I mean, granted, we see it during the College
You
World
saw,
Series, which is
you got to experience Boise a little bit.
yeah.
Oh, Boise
Boise's
was
a great city.
awesome.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved Boise. That was great. That honestly might have to be up there. Like Boise State campus is beautiful. Downtown is freaking gorgeous. I'm gonna put New Braunfels up there because that's one of my favorite places on earth. But that's a little tourist trappy too.
It's gotten.
But let's see.
Kansas. I wanted to explore Kansas City more. I feel like Kansas City has some potential there. We only got to be there for like a night. The Missouri game.
A big been there, done that city. Oxford, Mississippi. Been there, done that. Don't really imagine.
I don't feel like you can throw college towns in because college towns are like
you're talking about like big cities.
Yeah, like
I
college
love
towns
San Diego.
I love San Diego.
I haven't been to San Diego,
and that's kind of a tourist trappy place too. Oh, the weather's insane. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, but that's like a tourist trap place too. You know, like SeaWorld and the San Diego Zoo and stuff like that. But like, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I mean,
I like New
LA
Orleans
would
a lot.
probably fall unless you're gonna go see the Hollywood sign or like the Walk of Fame.
Yeah.
LA is probably because I can't think of uniquely LA things other than like going to see the Price is Right or the Walk of Fame or the Hollywood sign. Everything else is gonna be stuff you could get in Dallas or New York or Chicago.
Was not a huge fan of the Keys. I'll tell you that.
Like the Florida Keys.
Florida Keys, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. But anyway.
Well, that's about all the time we have for that. I think we're in that season where we're not traveling for football, so all we're going to be thinking about is places that we could travel. But there's going to be plenty to talk about in the upcoming weeks because, as we said, it's about to be crossover season and things get crazy.
And I get to just watch it while you guys work.
get to just point and laugh at us. But I mean, we could have some cold weather.
I was going to say,
we could
there's
have
plenty
some
of weather in this same season, too.
Yeah.
It's going to be really warm next week.
2021
and then it might be,
has something to say.
Yep. We always talk about opening day and the weather around that. I'm sure it's going to be eventful again. So.
Yep. So be sure to watch all of his stuff to see how how much he's going to eat his words about all that in the 5, 6, and 10 on KBTX. Check KBTX.com for everything we have going digitally with A&M coverage, and be sure to watch this guy and Aaron Patterson on the 5, 6, and 10 as well. We'll be back next week, probably talking some more football. We'll talk about that national championship game, and I think it might be time for that way too early predictions again. It was fun to go back and see what our predictions were last year. Maybe we'll, look at that a little bit as well. So for Max Crawford and Tyler Shaw, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra Podcast. We'll see you next week.